right, well, there we have it. New York City, well, maybe they're not the most well-known city for spending taxpayers' money well, but it definitely is evident in the subway. However, they have a good excuse according to this article. People kind of skirting around paying for their rides. What has happened, which has happened here, but maybe it's more of an epidemic in New York, people will jump over, slide under, skirt around, use any means necessary to avoid paying the $3 fare for the subway ride. I believe it's a $100 fine if you get caught, but let's face it, most people will not get caught. Very, very rare, I'm sure, for a person to actually get caught. So you do it a few times and you've already basically earned your money back if you do happen to be caught. New York subway doesn't really appreciate this. Shocking. And so they've decided to start investing their money on not guards to make sure people are safe from falling onto the tracks, but rather more secure turnstiles, which are actually more like gate systems now rather than turning, in order to deter people from not paying. Basically, they're gates that are relatively high, so they're harder to jump over, and also going down to the bottom, so it's hard to, well, maybe impossible to go under. And those gates will only open, well, presumably at the time of purchase. They thought the gates would only open when you actually have a ticket. This is not the case. Number one, people can still jump over, so that hasn't solved that problem. Number two, it's more like a motion-activated gate. So when you walk through, it won't open, but if you just put a bare hand, for most gates, if you just put a bare hand over the ticket spot, it'll open. Yeah.
Wow. How can the technology be so bad? Come on, New York.
Well, this is all alleged, and this is all just my speculation, armchair sort of sleuthing here. I suspect they had this much money and they decided to cut the budget as much as possible by going with the cheaper option. The vendor that they got those machines from promised that these gates would open when the ticket was inserted. And of course they do open when the ticket is inserted, but they forgot to tell them that it opens regardless of the ticket. Yeah, I think that's probably what happened.
Oh dear. I think we found the core of the problem maybe that the New York subway is facing.
Correct,
it's not perhaps the passengers at all. It's just the quality of the equipment and the contractors who build it.
Yeah, it is. It's evident to see that New York subway is not really up to date in many different ways. I think if you created an environment in a subway which people wanted to ride rather than needed to ride, maybe there'd be a little bit more push for it. And also don't do things like this where people are like, well, if you're going to just spend my money on gates that don't even work, why would I pay? Yeah, that's kind of the mindset of the article. Of course, not our mindset, so don't sue us, New York.
Very New York.
Anyways, let me ask you a couple questions. Would you ever like to live in New York City? Why or why not?
Again, from what I've heard, the pros of living there are there's tons of stuff to do. It's walkable to get to everywhere. Again, they do have a subway. It may not be of the highest quality, but public transport is available. But on the downside, I think it's very, very expensive to live there. And, it's quite a small place with a ton of high-rise buildings. I imagine it being very crowded and quite oppressive in some ways. So I'd like to live there for a short time so I could do all the fun stuff and then clear off out to somewhere a little bit more chill.
Like have a little summer rental, 3 months.
Oh, yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
Okay, get a bunch of friends together. Just live in New York for 3 months.
It's such a unique, unparalleled place.
Yeah. And I believe most countries can go for visits for up to 90 days in New York, I think. Double check. Besides illegally entering a subway, what are other ways people try to save money?
In New York or in general?
In general.
In general, I've got loads. Like I try not to buy expensive, coffee shop coffee. I make my own. A lot of those don't buy out. Try and make your own cheaper version if you can with foods and drinks. I try to walk more often rather than take the public transport. I try to with makeup, there's no saving me there. Certain things I just cannot cut back on. But really try and prioritize your spending. Like, what do you really love, and spend your money on that. And the things that you're meh, just cut them out. Cut it out. I'm not into clothes.
Cut it out.
I do not do a lot of clothes shopping. As you probably noticed, I do tend to wear the same outfits in rotation on these videos. Sorry, I'm just not much of a clothes girl.
Yeah. I bet if we watch these back, we're like, I wore that 4 weeks in a row.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I have more than 4 tops.
Well, what I mean is like just by happenstance, we wear the same clothing on filming day. Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I remember I used to buy gum because I did enjoy getting my breath to be more fresh. Not in Korea anymore, but in the US. And I would bite them into thirds.
Extreme money saving idea.
Yeah. All those money saving ideas ended up being useless because I had basically no money after coming here anyway. Anyways, but the former me, I'm sure, had a lot of fun, even though the current me is not very happy about it.
Oh, here's another good one. Don't leave the heating on all the time.
Correct.
Don't leave the lights on all the time. Turn things off. You know, you don't need it on all the time. AC as well in the summer.
Unplug your small appliances like toasters or rice makers. They suck electricity, even if they're turned off.
Yep.
Wow.
Power is very expensive.
Gosh, well, that was great advice. Let us not refrain from the vocabulary down below or wherever it is. Go ahead and study that. Try to use that in your everyday life. And have no fear. Do use English. Someone who you talk to who's a native English speaker just wants to listen to you and understand and have a conversation. They don't care. They just want to listen. So just talk to them using this vocabulary. Only this vocabulary. All right, guys. Bye.
Unparalleled.
Unparalleled.
Evasion.
Evasion.
Remedy.
Remedy.
Vault.
Vault.
Refrain.
Refrain.